Good Sunday morning. Little oversleep this Sunday morning. Like I said, today's blog was probably going to be a couple days ago. I said this blog was probably going to be a little late, and in fact, it is. It's almost an hour late. Well, I slept in a little. I was tired. It's hot in that place where I work. It's not hard work. Definitely not hard work. It's just oppressively humid and hot, and it sucks down my energy level to the point where I really can't function. Um, I run on automatic mostly at work, take care of what I need to do. The 3 or 4 jobs that I do have. Yeah, not one, not two, not three, probably 4. Um, so there you go. Anyway, back to reality. Our reality, the sim racing reality. No grip, still not up. Dead. It's been a couple of days. Though GPL Depository was down for like a week and nobody ever noticed that. Earlier this year, I think it was in January or February. They were down for almost a week. And nobody said anything really much about that anywhere either. So maybe they're just having problems. Don't like the site that much. I don't talk a lot there, but it's a great place for content. And they speak English. That's always a good thing when they are in English, because translators don't usually work, especially when you have to keep clicking them to figure out what each thing you're clicking on says. But anyway, getting back to one of the guys over at Sanaa was talking about stock car racing and other sims other than NR2K, and the sims that have come out for NASCAR style stock cars have all been bad since NR2K came out. There are mods out there. It takes a lot of setup adjustments. The ones, like I said yesterday, the NSS FMS Cup mod, NASCAR mod, was quoted by an actual driver saying it was the best one out there at the time. But the difference between NR2K and the NSS FMS mod is you have to do a lot of setup work. It's because the sim and every other sim, Simbin Sims, R Factor, Assetto Corsa, and I'm guessing Project Cars 2, all those sims, they're set up for sports car racing. Plain and simple. It's not set up for stock car racing. So their setups are all symmetrical. Where NASCAR style stock cars are asymmetrical. I think that's the word I'm looking for. They're not the same on both sides. We at FMS, we did do some minor tweaking to the setup so you can just take it to the track, but it wasn't a very fast setup, but was geared towards making your proper setups. I wish, again, it's on another computer, on that same computer where I lost all those pictures and stuff, I had almost a setup for every track that was a pretty quick setup. Not winning setup, because I never won an R Factor. I did win 7 whole times in NR2K in a 15-odd year online presence, racing online against other people. I won a whole whopping 7 times, and 2 of those were short races, like 30 laps. Still a race. Anyway, but that's the idea. And if you don't want to, if you're not it was set up for a true sim racer to go in there and do his own setup, his or her own setup, don't leave the gals out, and race. And that's why when we were at FMS, when we did that, we only had Arca Sim Racing at the same time, which is basically the same deal, where you actually had to go in there and make a setup or share a setup. Excuse me. But yeah, I won't say the driver's name because then I don't want anybody coming down on my head, but there was one particular real life current driver or no, I don't think he's current anymore. He was current at the time. Who said that this was our NSS FMS stock car mod was as close to reality as you could get in R Factor. Learn how to make a setup. I'm sorry, guys. Learn how to make a setup. Learn how to do it. That's how you get better at anything. Is NR2K is that the expert and fast setups are okay, but if you wanted to race against some of the guys that I raced against, you had to make your own setup because those guys were phenomenally fast and they made their own setups. So you get to make your own setups. Make your own setups. Part of the learning how to do the sim racing deal is learning setups, learning how to make setups. You're just racing the AI, change the AI setting to where it meets the expert setup, which is I think 95%. At most tracks, the fast setup is 90%, and the easy setup is like 80%. If anybody drives the easy setup, you're not a sim racer. I'm sorry, plain and simple. The Jasper setups that came with the default track, I think that's 85%. I don't remember. A long time ago, I remember reading what the breakdown was of the AI strength to the setups that came with the sim. Actually, the expert set didn't come with the sim. That was made by Project Wildfire. Those were made by Project Wildfire. And again, another site that, well, if you know the history, you don't need me to repeat it. Nor do I want to repeat it. But True Sim Racer, you'll download. I mean, yeah, granted it's the winged car. It's a 2007 ugly winged car that they use. But if you want, according to a NASCAR driver and a couple others too, it said it. But I only know one directly quoted because that's the only one I heard. But I've heard of others saying it. That if you want the truest to life R Factor mod at the time for stock car racing, it is the NSS FMS mod, and it's still over at R Factor Central, and along with the tracks that go with it. And there's a lot of tracks in there. It's just not the standard tracks. It's got the bulk of the truck tracks, and it's got a couple of add-on goodies in there also. So, like Portland Road Course, which was a nice track, still is. Anyway. That's that. So that's the sim racing thing that I have today for you. The big thing I have for you. If you want to be a sim racer, learn how to do setups. If you don't want to learn how to do setups, stay with NR2K because they make the setups pretty well drivable for you. If you want to learn how to do it, then you do it. It's not that much different than NR2K to R Factor. There's a couple of extra little things, like they actually have the rubber spacers you put in the springs that you pull in and pull out, you know, for added extra grip or to tighten the car up or whatever. Bump stops, I think they call them in the game, that you can just pull out at the pit stop. If it's too loose or too tight, you put one in. I don't remember because I have the mod just because there's like 10 of my paints in there, at least 10 of my paint jobs in there, my skins. So. And you get to see some of my old work, 11-year-old work in that sim. One of them's ugly. It's an Eagles car that we did for a set, and I just threw one together, and it's out of proportion. It's ugly. But anyway, I digress. I painted up like 4 or 5 other cars for other guys, and my 5 cars, and I think I painted up 7 or 8 of them total for other people. But if you want to see some of my earlier work, it's in there. I did the JPS, I think it's a 64. So if you want to see some cool work, that's mine. I think I did the 94 or 1 Eagle for Matt Cromwell, who was a great kid and great driver when we raced together. He was the guy you had to beat. I did the 64 for Daniel Bliss, I think his name was. I haven't talked to him in 10 years, so these names are far behind. Sean, I can never remember how to pronounce his last name. His 28s, I did all those. I did the Haviland car in that mod too, so you can see how good the Tigg actually was at one time at painting. Take a look at that. Take a look at that car. That car's beautiful. And of course there's my Bass L and a couple others. There's a Sam Adams that I used to drive. There's Bebop's, the Eagle car. There was a Burger King car, but I think I overrode that with something else. And I think there's an Autism Speaks truck in there that I did. I don't remember all that's in there, but it's the truck mod too. It's pretty good. Go get it if you like stock car racing. You like to make your own setups from scratch. That's the mod to get. The NSS FMS stock car mod, NASCAR mod, whatever you want to call it. Since I've been kind of halfway promising and saying and stuff that to end this vlog today, other than saying that I may change the name of it to Coffee with the Tigg. That's actually, I thought it was a good idea. I came up with that yesterday, calling it Coffee with the Tigg, as I was watching my replay, making sure I didn't sound like a complete and total idiot and delete it off of YouTube. I do that every time. Seriously, I watch it every time to make sure I don't look and sound like a complete and total idiot. None of them have been deleted, so I don't think I look like a complete and total idiot. So I'm thinking about changing the title again, but I'm not going to change the old ones. I'm going to change it to Coffee with the Tigg, with the date, so you know which one's which. Yeah, because I drink coffee while I'm doing my vlog. So hopefully you grab a cup, have a couple sips, and enjoy the rest of your day. Here is your picture of the sexy wife. Smoke me a kipper. I'll be back for breakfast.